Welcome back to Call the Nurse. I am beyond excited today. Probably, well, I'm always excited for my guests, but I never thought in a million years that I would get to have a guest that is from my hometown of Manila, Arkansas. Not in the Philippines, Manila, Arkansas, just for those who always, give me a hard time. Bridgett Watkins is a dedicated musher, adventurer, dream chaser. She's also a mom, a wife, and a nurse. And she has been living in Alaska and going through this unforgiving wilderness and adventures that she goes on, balancing a career in nursing with her passion of dog sled racing. And welcome, Bridgett Watkins, who I knew as Bridgett Moore back in the day. And we graduated at the same high school. And I know your husband because we all went to the same school, and his mom was my choir teacher. It's just so cool to have you on. And you are there in Alaska right now.
I am, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I can't believe that here we are, worlds apart yet.
Yeah,
So,
how many years? I've been out of Manila, Arkansas for 26 years now, so
yeah,
this is
pretty
crazy.
similar.
Yeah, and my mom worked for your grandfather for many years, and you worked with her when I moved to. So maybe you just kind of you took my place, which was awesome. Probably gave my mom somebody to love up on while I moved to LA, being the crazy girl out there, and then you left. How many years were you in our little town? You were there when you were young, left, and came back, correct?
Yeah, I was there till I was about 6 and then left until I was 15 and came back just for a year and a half of high school and then went on to college. So was there for a little bit of time, but where all the family was from and it's where I graduated.
Yeah. And you still have family there, or is anybody left there?
Yeah, I do. I still have aunts there and cousins, so there's still roots, and of course my in-laws live there, so we still go back home, as we say, every,
Wow.
every Christmas time. So
Well, I see, I believe it's Doc Felt Lane. It's like two streets
uh,
over from the street I grew up on. So it's just, there's not many people you can sit and have a conversation with that know the same people for years, that really understand what that small town, population probably when we were growing up was about 2,000. Now it's maybe 3,500. It's really not super big, no stoplights still to this day. So I moved to LA, you moved to Alaska, and your life, I have to say, has been a bit more exciting than mine here in LA. I mean, what you have accomplished out there, and even coming out, you published your memoir last year called Marker to Marker, which we're going to talk about. And your story has just been so inspirational, but even more so, some of those things on top of being a mom, a wife, and a nurse, I find just extremely fascinating. So I just wanted to have a chat and talk about all the incredible things that you're doing. I think you're going to be inspiring for so many people. And I'm sure Manila, Arkansas is super proud of you as well as, is your town big there in Alaska?
yeah, I mean, no, not big. It's about the size of Jonesboro for you to know. So maybe
Arkansas, that's where I went to college. Yes.
yes,
That's city to me.
yeah, we don't have as many stores, just population wise. So
Got it. And what is the temperature there in Alaska right now?
well,
As
it's
as I sit here in 90 degrees sunshine.
yeah, turning your AC on and we're turning our heat on for the first time because it's calling for snow. And we usually have snow by now, but we don't. So it's right around freezing. So right about 33. So it's in between snow and rain right now.
Wow, wow. Well, you and I talked a little bit earlier, but this concept of a musher, I had never really heard of. I had heard of the Iditarod, and you come from a family, if I'm not mistaken, of like championship, Iditarod people. I'd never really heard of it. My husband's a huge fan, and it seems like such an intense sport. I would call it a sport, right?
Yeah.
What is a musher? Just so before I even get into all the deep, amazing things about you, explain to me what that is, because that's not like a job for you. This is something you actually do because you love it. I enjoy beaches and pools, and you're over here in the grueling snow. Can you explain to us what this is?
Yeah, in Alaska back in the day before there were any type of other transport forms of transportation, that's really how people got from one place to the next, whether it be to get the mail or to go to the next village or the next town because there was no other ways. And still to this day, we have snow machines that take you instead of dog team. Well, of course, people said, well, I have these dogs and you have those dogs. Let's see who can get there faster. And so that kind of brought about the sport of mushing, or where you actually race these sled dogs and they pull you because that's what they do. They love to pull the sled, just like a lab likes to fetch a bumper in the
Sure.
water. These sled dogs just want to pull and just want to run. And so that's how mushing came about. But then Iditarod, of course, is famous for back in 1925 when it took life-saving diphtheria toxin
Mm.
all the way up to Nome to save the whole village of Nome. And so that's what the Iditarod kind of commemorates every single year, is mushers taking that journey, which is 1,000 miles across the state, from Anchorage all the way to Nome, in remembrance of that original journey.
And is that a race? So is mushing the actual act of racing these sled dogs?
Yeah, and just like any sport, you have people that are recreational, just like you would in basketball or in
Sure.
baseball. You have recreational teams and you have comp teams. So it's
Got it.
it's similar. And so mushing is just the general term of basketball or baseball. But then you have, elite racers who this is
I
all they
see.
run. Iditarod as a profession. And then you have people that are recreational mushers that only have like 2 or 3 or 4 dogs and just have fun with their kids on the weekends. So it's just what you want to put into it. And I, of course, started out as a recreational musher where we just had a few dogs as a kid just for fun on the weekends because we
Mhm.
saw people do it. We're like, well, let's try this out. And that quickly developed into, with my very competitive family, and our nature was, well, we're going to do it the fastest and we're going to win. And
Wow.
we did. And then we just continued that legacy on for the next 30 years.
Wow. And so your dad and your stepmom when you moved to Alaska, were they kind of already, whenever this, however many years you were in Alaska, is this something that they were already doing? Or is this something, like you said, just kind of a sport that developed in your family and then they caught on or was stepmom already doing it long before you came along? How did that kind of all?
Yeah, so my sister and I started, and we were running sprint dogs. So this is kind of, think of your track athletes, sprint mushers. So your 100-meter dash, they're going to go short and fast. That's what we were doing. My stepmom had been a long distance musher, meaning you're running 300, 500, 1,000 mile races. So very different. Um, and as the years went on, my father married my stepmother, and we just transitioned over from sprint mushing to long distance mushing. And so it was really attributed to her that we this long distance mushing, and my dad fell in love with it. And so, while I was busy in college and all of those things, he began his mushing career, at the age of 50. He didn't start mushing till then. And
Wow.
a champion in every single thing that he ran. So it was pretty amazing to watch. You're never too young to start. That's what it.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize he started, when he was not old, because I'm almost there, but a little later in life. And do you think growing up around that kind of endurance and resilience and determination, do you think that had an impact just on your own mindset?
Oh, absolutely. We grew up super competitive, so it didn't matter what we did. But I think it started even before mushing, and it was like when we played basketball, and my dad was my coach. And so, he always pushed us to be the best that we could be, and always continue to strive to do more and to do more, and understand hard and then push the limit a little more. And so that's what he taught me from basketball on to mushing, and that just continued on.
Wow. Wow. It sounds like you kind of grew up around some very intense but good. I'm sure it gave you a lot of discipline, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like this sport is very dangerous and time consuming, a lot of sacrifice. Did those things, watching your step parents, I mean, your stepmom and dad going through kind of these long nights, dangerous treks, did that did that affect you? I mean, did that scare you or did it like motivate you of like, wow, look what they conquered?
Yeah, it would definitely motivate me more than anything, because it was more of a, I wonder if I could do that. You're always kind of pushing the limit. And from a early age, I've always been, push the limits. I broke my first bone when I was 10, downhill skiing. I broke my hip. And I've had lots of orthopedic injuries since then. And I think that has motivated and pushed me to the next level, because through sports injuries, you see that you have an injury, what you have to do to fix it, and what it takes to get back.
Yes.
And I've had to do that time and time again. And I think that mental fortitude is what prepares you to be a dog musher, because in mushing, it is going to be hard. It's going to terrible and you're going to want to quit. But just on the other side of that is where you're going to have your breakthrough. And I think that's what I keep pushing for. And so really having a really competitive family and then overcoming all of these orthopedic injuries that I had really propelled me to this direction.
Wow. It's amazing to me, I think, with humans sometimes because I would look at those things of watching them do these dangerous, this dangerous sport and being gone away from the family, all your orthopedic injuries. It would easily be like, you know what? This is not for me, right? I have my family, I have my kids, but it's fascinating to me how some people, like you said, why don't I, go and try that? That's always like mind-boggling to me. I really think that you guys are, I'm not sure that's me. Maybe me in some ways, but I don't know about, like, all the time. That is wild to me. But it does seem to be this kind of theme of teamwork, discipline, pushing through adversity seems to be kind of a common theme, not just in the mushing in your family, but just through your book and just the different things that you've experienced. And you are obviously an ER nurse, which I love that you're a nurse. And gosh, you come from a medical family too. I mean, it doesn't even mean like you come from this incredible discipline, but grandfather, doctor, grandmother. I only know this because I lived in the town, nurse practitioner. You got, I think is your mom a nurse as well? Yeah, I thought so.
My
Sister too?
sister, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Oh my goodness. Wow. Um, do you think that type of, well, what drew you to that? What drew you to be a nurse?
Well, I didn't want to be a nurse. I said,
Really? Something you didn't want to do?
yeah, I was like, I was going to go to law school. I was on pre-law and headed that direction. And then I really
Oh,
had moral conviction, honestly. And I was like, I can't fight for something that I don't believe is right or if I don't believe their story. So it really was a shift in my decision making of I want to help people. I want to fix people because I had seen how many people had fixed me in the past with
mhm.
injuries that I'd had, and I wanted to be there for those people in that time. And so that's when I was like, I'm gonna be a nurse. This is what I'm gonna do.
Wow.
And drew me to ER nursing because you never know what's coming in the door, and you can fix anything, and you see them, fix them, and they're gone. And that's what drove me and motivated me.
Right, right. Yeah, you work, is it a pretty intense ER that you work in as far as like trauma one, like level, trauma center and all that, or is it
Don't have any level one traumas in the state of Alaska. Um,
really
yeah. So,
interesting?
but we see anything you would see in a trauma one
I
because,
would think so.
and that's what's kind of great is because I kind of cut my teeth per se out in the rural parts of Alaska as a younger nurse, where not only was no hospital, but I was it. So I would get on a plane and I would fly to these remote villages where there had been shootings or stabbings, and I'm putting in chest tubes while trying to give blood and bring these patients back to a larger city. And that's what taught me how to really take care of these patients, was living out there when I had no resources at all.
Wow.
You were it, and if you were not it, they were going to die. And so I knew that really drew me, like I can help people. And so I did that as a younger nurse, and here we are 20 years later, and it's easy now. It's
Yeah.
easy. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I
And you're
doing
still doing it.
I am.
You're still working bedside and still doing ER, not necessarily because I know some people after 20 years they would go into education or they would go into like for me, I'll probably be a lifetime bedside nurse. That's probably what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean, I think all of us, like, we take a break. I did for a little while, and I was an educator. I was a manager. I've done all those things, but here I am back at the bedside because I just want to fix the people.
Yeah,
Like, you
that's me too.
come in broke, I fix you. Like, that's
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah.
So,
I feel that too. I feel like, I've been asked to be charged or do manage. And I always tell them, I'm like, I am best utilized. My strengths are at the bedside, helping not only the patients, but the nurses. I don't want to be the one shifting beds and, doing all of that stuff. And without giving too much away of your book, because we want people to go get your book and we'll give all the information about that later. Tell me about Marker to Marker. Where did this title come from? What inspired you to write this book?
well, I had a lot of stories, and I overcame a lot of crazy things. And it's like we would find ourselves saying often, I can't believe that happened. Or you couldn't even write, like, you can't even write a movie about this.
Right.
Like, whose whose wheels fall off when you're driving down the road with a dog sled on top, or
Oh,
who falls on the ice, or who, I mean, like, it just continued over and over. And we would say,
wow.
well, write a movie. And eventually I thought, I'd like to kind of capture these stories. And I started honestly doing what I do with every decision in life. And I prayed about it. And I was just like, I don't know what I need to do. And I told my husband, I said, I almost feel guilty. Like, I need to write a book. And he was like, you write a book? I've never written a book. Like, I don't write books. That's not what I do. And
Right.
okay. So what I just started doing is just writing down all these stories that had happened in my life. And
Wow.
uh, before I knew it, I had a book.
Wow. And are these all are stories that have just kind of happened to you in Alaska, like more physical kind of things going on with mushing, or even just more emotional kind of spiritual awakening? What types of stories?
A
'Cause
little bit.
just you talking about the
Yeah.
sled on the truck and dogs, I'm like, yeah, I've never seen that or heard of that. So I'm sure your stories are fascinating. So what types of things are we talking about?
Well, I
I look
think,
at the moose one and I'm just like, wait, what? You did what?
oh, yeah. Well, they start before that because I think the one thing that a memoir allows you to do is it allows you time for reflection that people don't take the time to do. Because
Right.
what you is the decisions and choices that were made, even maybe not by yourself, but other people and how they fell on you, predict or show how you're going to be at this point in your life. And so I was able to look back and see how things from my parents to grandparents to decisions that we made led me to where I was, and really shaped me to who I was. And it's like, wow, I was making the same type of decisions as a young girl that I'm making now with the same
Mm,
attitude. And I had it back then, and I've just matured that along the way. And so it talks about those decisions of an early age of really starting with injuries and how I overcame those, to then how when I made a decision, okay, I'm going to do this. It doesn't matter how hard it's going to get, because it's going to get really hard and you're going to want to quit whatever it is, and
mhm.
what it takes to get through that. And one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn was, no does not always mean never. It just might mean not right now.
Right now, right.
And so I got a lot of no's. I wanted to run Iditarod. This is what I wanted to do for years and years and years and years. And we were finally going to do it. And then bam, I found out I was pregnant, and I didn't ever think I was even going to have kids. And I mean, so I walked through that journey with you, and I walked through what it was like being a mom when you didn't expect to be a mom. Like, some people are, as from a little girl, they want to be that mom and carry that baby doll.
Right.
That was not me. And so
Interesting.
then I had to learn how to be a mom. And then I took 10 years off of mushing and what it was like to come back. And then as soon as I made the decision to come back, everything that could be thrown at me, was from nearly losing my marriage. And I talk about that a little bit and how we came through that, to then getting kicked out of our house that we owned by our town.
Oh,
So all these little things that came, and of course there was the Iditarod and just trying to get to it. And I got ran over by a snow machine and had to have surgery. And I mean, just on, and so many things happened. And right before I was finally going to get to run the Iditarod, there's of course a story where I get attacked by a large bull moose, and it nearly kills me, and it ends up ultimately injuring and killing one of my dogs. And it was a horrific day and one of the worst days of my life, but I learned a lot through that. And what I learned more than anything is that 3 weeks later, I got to the starting line of the Iditarod, and it's not always going to end how you think it is. So I spend a lifetime trying to get to the starting line. The problem was I never looked to the finish line.
mm.
And so, 1,000-mile race that takes 2 weeks to compete, I was 50 miles from the finish line when I was headed to the finish line. My whole family, everybody I knew was there. We were going, and Mother Nature and God had other
I was gonna say,
plans.
I remember that wasn't there like a big snowstorm or like all these different things kind of came into play.
Right, where I didn't make it, and so I didn't make it, and ended up injured, tore
Mm.
up my shoulder, and I broke my collarbone, and all these injuries. And I mean, so there's a lot of stories that are in there that just kind of talk about like overcoming obstacles and having faith in the grit, and trusting that God's going to walk through it with you no matter how hard it is. That this was my faith journey as much as it was me growing up to see like where I was led,
Right.
and all the way to where I am today, which is a whole nother journey, right? And so
Yeah. You're
that's
just
where
beginning.
the book really takes us. Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of vulnerability and honesty, in your story. Was there ever a time, I mean, you really hit on it just now too about how, you kind of get to where it's going to be hard and should I do it? Should I not? Was there ever a time you just thought maybe I shouldn't, kind of go public about this? I mean, I know starting this podcast, we've talked about some pretty vulnerable things, especially me and my husband and my ex-husband. A lot of people are like, well, what are you doing? And I thought, you know what? I feel like this is what people need to hear. They need to hear the kind of the vulnerable spots to where no one really wants to talk about. Was there ever a time where you thought, maybe I shouldn't do it? And what kind of finally gave you the courage to be like, I'm going all in? Because your personality seems just when you think you shouldn't do it or everything's injury, this, that, you're like, I'm just, I'm going to go for it. Where I think a lot of people would have stopped. What made you keep going?
Yeah, there's always a point where you're going to question your why, and I think
Right.
that you have to determine what your why is for that specific scenario. And for me, when it got really hard for that point in my life of running Iditarod or not per se, was, my kids have seen all these obstacles that I came through from just to get to this point. What type of mother will I be if I quit now? You know,
Mm-hmm.
they'll always wonder the what if or why didn't we or why did she quit here. It just gives them a reason to quit later on in life. But instead, they needed to see a mom that's going to push through it and that's going to work through the hard, the tears, the failures, because it's okay to fail. That
Yeah.
just get closer to the finish line at some point. So I had to show them that I had to keep going. And so there's definitely parts of every one of my stories where I want to quit. There always comes that point. Like, and that's when I know I'm at that point, I know I'm getting close
Yeah.
because when you're stretching yourself, you're going to get to that point. And the vulnerability part is key because if you aren't willing to open and talk about it and be honest with yourself, you won't make it any farther. And you have to be able to do that to move forward, but also so that I can help somebody else.
Right.
Right. Because that's where I feel super led now is to let people know like it's gonna get hard, it's gonna suck, but you can do it. Like keep going. Like don't stop now. You just have to take the next step because that's where you're gonna find your freedom.
That's the growth, right?
Yeah.
That's where you're
Don't
going to grow.
Absolutely. And so there's so many aspects and depending on where people are struggling or where we're having a conversation, there's a lot of insight I can give you from marriage to children to reaching goals.
Yeah. You didn't grow up as in I guess as much in our little town as I did, but I know there was a fear for me of like opening up about vulnerable things, especially what are people back home going to think? Or, again, just kind of getting caught in that, what are people going to think? Did that ever cross your mind? I mean, I know you're not maybe as tied back there, but you know how that small town mentality can be. You kind of worry about the judgment. Even 25 years later, being gone, I still worry about that judgment sometimes. Did that ever, like, because once that book is written and out there, it's out there. Right?
Yeah, yeah, you're sharing a piece of yourself with everybody. And
Yes.
things that maybe your family don't even know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was the case. There were things that I wrote in the book that my family didn't even know, some of the struggles that my husband and I were going through, or whatever it may be. They didn't know my true innermost thoughts. And so it was very vulnerable. And then you look at a bigger perspective now that there's social media and all that aspect, and there's a lot of love, but there's hate too. And so
Yeah.
you be able to discern that and see what really matters to you because there's going to be hate with every bit of love.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like once you've opened up yourself, you better get ready for the good along with the bad, right? Always going to have people who are just going to be critical and ripping, your stuff apart, which is why I like what you say. You got to always kind of analyze your why. Because
Yep.
if you get caught up in all of that, then your why just kind of, gets lost. When I read about this really intense, I don't even want to call it accident. I mean, I mean, it was a really detailed, flashback when we were talking about this moose interaction and just even how detailed you were of like it looking you in the eye and how it didn't seem threatened at first. Um, and then at one point you said like, this thing wants to kill. Like, I can't even fathom that. But it seems, again, everything that you have gone through, you just kind of had to take it head on. I think in that moment, you probably didn't necessarily have a choice. What what was going through your mind? And do you think your experience as a nurse helped you survive? Never mind that you went on to do the Iditarod after. Like, because that probably would have been like, okay, I'm done. That's a sign that I just don't need to do this. What was going through your mind, and was there a time where you were thinking, "Oh my God, like my husband, my kids, like I'm possibly going to die here."
Yeah, yeah, that happened. Um, so looking back on it now, as an ER nurse, we have patients that come in having panic attacks or PTSD. I had never experienced that personally. I
Mhm.
medically, but I didn't understand it emotionally.
Right.
But I get it now. And
Mm-hmm.
so that took me to a new place in my professional career that I never could have been, a new compassion
So it's like
that
a new compassion,
I
right?
did not have, empathy, and
Mm.
even sympathy. Like, I mean, it's all of the above for people that are experiencing any type of post traumatic stress because I never had experienced that, but it it changed my life honestly for a lot of different reasons. And in those moments, yeah, I definitely thought that I very likely was going to die. And knowing the things that I know as a nurse, there's more moose attacks that kill people a year than bear attacks, and so they trample you. And where we found ourselves was on the middle of a trail that was very narrow, less than 4 feet across. There was no way we could turn around or retreat. The snow berms were up much higher than we could stand. If we got off the trail, we would have been swimming, and then the moose would have just completely trampled us. um, I had already unloaded the gun that I had on him, and he was not dying. And he continued to stand just mere feet from me. And my friend that was with me and I just simply said, we have no plan B. There is no plan B. And we carry these little InReach Garmin devices on
Right.
us. And I had a knife in one hand and I had my hand on the button in the other. And I said, if he comes over top of me, I'm going to try and stab him and I'm going to push the button for help. And that's it, because I know that he's going to trample me and I know I'm probably going to have pneumothoraxes and all these things.
Sure.
I'm not going to make it to the ER. Like, they can't get me there. I'm too far out. Like, I'm going to die. Like, I know that.
And he
She's
had
in.
already trampled the dogs, right? It seemed like
Yeah.
he had already Is
Yeah.
this a common occurrence? I mean, do you see that type of
Mm,
occurrence?
no. So, does it happen? Yes. Is it a common occurrence? No, not to the extent that it was. It was a really bad snow year, so moose couldn't get off the trail. They were hungry. There was a lot of different things, factors that made those
Sure,
moose that year. So, it common no. Do we see moose all the time?
sure.
9 times out of 10, they're running off. They're scared of you.
They're
They don't.
scared. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very rare occurrence. And usually, if one, quote, attacks somebody, it's usually them just kind of running through your team, attacking you on the side because you spook them,
Right.
get between their calf or something. Not usually are they in a full on standoff like that happened with me that was like 58 minutes long. So an hour long,
Oh
this.
my God. Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I mean, the way you said, like you guys were you were looking eye to eye into this
Yeah,
creature of like, and you saw like this thing was not going to go away. Like, were you, did you think about, like, what were you thinking about? Like, okay, I'm possibly going to die here. Did you think about family? Did you think about your kids? Does any of that even flash? Or are you just in so much of survival that you're like, I gotta shoot, I gotta kill?
I was in kill mode.
Yeah.
And if I don't kill this thing, I'm going to
Yeah.
die. One of us is going to die today. And I knew that. One of us is going to die. And this is it. Like, there's no getting out of this. So there's nobody coming to like,
Yeah.
something's got to happen.
The
And
legit saying of no one is coming to save you, you were literally living that in that moment. Like there is no one coming to save you. You better do this yourself. I guess you had no time. Of course, I'm on the other side of it, right? As a mom, like, oh my gosh, I should be thinking about my kids. You didn't have time for that. You're like literally fight or flight. Like we were in fight mode and you couldn't flight, you said, because the thing
yeah,
could have killed you regardless.
yeah, I think, if you would have been in that scenario where it had attacked you and you're laying there dying, that's probably when those thoughts would come.
Right. Agreed. Yes.
Attack that you have so much adrenaline that you're just you're just trying to kill it. Like whatever we can do, I'm taking the next opportunity or you're taking the next opportunity and something's got to die. So and it's terrible, right? That's not what mushing's about. That's not what we're about.
Sure.
We want to get caught up in that story. It's an incredible, powerful, terrible story, but um it's not our goal. Like our goal is to never go out there and kill animals. That's not what
Absolutely.
we do, you know? And
Right.
so that's where I had to question a lot when you ask, the vulnerability part. When that happened, it made national, international news. And, I was getting phone calls from every major news company, like Fox News popped up, and I had like every single one of them coming on my phone. And I was like, are we gonna talk about this or are we not? Like, I got to make a decision here because this is going to open our family up to either we're going to talk about it or we're not. And you
What were
know,
you afraid of? Like, were you afraid of the backlash of killing the animal, or what were you afraid of? Why wouldn't you tell that story?
shame. I think a lot of things shame you, and I felt shame in the fact that I didn't have a gun that was a lethal weapon. That's a whole nother story, because we don't usually carry big guns with us. It's usually just to shoot and scare it off. We don't
Well, yeah,
carry.
like you said, the mentality is not you're not out there to kill an animal. You're not thinking you're gonna have to kind of fend for your life, right?
Yeah, but we heard a lot of animal rights activists. I ended up on the front page of PETA. You never want to be on the front page of PETA.
Kidding.
No. So
You
that
literally did. You did end up on
yes. So
for
I know that where I'm heading in the next part of we'll talk about in a little bit. It's
yeah,
probably going to up again to some backlash, but there's so much good in our story, and I know that God
absolutely.
got this. And so, yes, I felt vulnerable opening up and feeling shame of, my dogs got hurt. There was a lot of really bad that came, but now let's make it good. Let's make it good and
Yeah.
show like learn that out of it.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, I think again, yes, that's not because that's not even the focus. I mean, it's again insane to me that people could, shame that, but especially when you're in a culture in Alaska and these are just things that you do, but to take away just the grit, the tenacity, the will to live when literally death is staring you in the face, like to me that supersedes any kind of other story out there. And if they knew you, and I think that's what's important about getting your story out too, because yeah, maybe the world knows this one story about you, which is insane and powerful and scary and all the things. But if they've gotten to know all of these stories put together, this is a common theme in your life to keep going when things get hard, right?
Yeah, no, it is. And you ask like, did my nursing career help me get out of this? Well, from the moment the moose attack was over, once the moose was dead, I have all of these injured dogs, and I immediately, without even recognizing it, went into triage mode of mass casualty.
Yes.
Like immediate
Yes.
mass casualty, like black tag, red tag, like where are we at? Like who's getting out, who's not, who
Do
has
you
to
have utensils? I mean, do you have anything to kind of help with
be
that?
divered everything. So it was literally like mass chaos triage on the street with what you had, from trying to splint broken bones to dogs with internal injuries to dogs that we had to carry to put in baskets to how are we going to get these dogs out of here? I mean, we're in the wilderness. Like we have to get out to even get somewhere to get us to a vet. So that moment, I was thankful for my nursing because I immediately recognized who was in shock, who was not, who needed. I was able to give a complete rundown of all the dogs that I had. I had 16 dogs when I eventually got to the vet, and I didn't miss any injuries. And
Wow.
that was
Wow.
nursing. And I could tell this dog has internal, this dog has this. I think this is just long bone injury. I think this is this. I think, and that was because of my nursing. And that has come in many times helpful as an ER nurse to be out on the sled.
I'm sure. Wow. And my guess is, Bridgett, that you probably would have lost more dogs had you not had that experience because you went into triage. And I know you probably feel, because I've heard that with your dogs, when you're doing this sport, they're not just like these worker dogs, right? Like they're your family. They're
Yeah.
just, I mean, my dogs to me, my mom knows. My mom's always like, gosh, like, nothing can happen when you're out of town with these dogs because I would get on a plane and leave. I'm like, yeah, because that's my baby. I have a duck living in my backyard right now. I mean, this duck is my world right now. So I can't even imagine like being able to even lock in because my dog bit my duck's beak the other day and blood was everywhere and I lost my mind. And my mom is like, "You're a nurse. Why are you freaking out seeing that blood?" I'm like, "It's just so different when it's your animals or even your child when you're a nurse. I can do that there, but when we're seeing our pets hurt, for you to be able to go in triage mode with these animals, I mean, again, it just really a testament to your spirit and who you are. And when you think back on your childhood, do you think there were certain like moments or people who planted seeds, for the resilience and the compassion you kind of live with now?
Well, yeah, I think I saw the compassion and healing and fixing of people from my everything from my grandparents to my mother being as well. And I
Yeah.
think is ingrained into your mold. And my competitive never give up nature is my dad. So your parents mold you in every single way. And so uh, I had a great family and a great parents that raised me, and that is who made me who I am.
Yeah, it seems like you had a really good kind of mix
Yeah.
of this compassionate, nurturing side with mom, and then this kind of grit and determination. And not that neither of them didn't have each of those as well, but really a great balance. And is your sister a lot like you? Are you very different in that way? Or are you same parents, different experience, right?
Opposite as night and day. So
What kind of nurse is she?
just primary care.
Ah,
We she
now,
flex.
don't say just primary care like it's nothing.
Sorry, yeah. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
So
I know. Because I do critical care, I do like ICU, PCU, and then they'll send me to med surge sometimes, and I'm like, what is this? I don't even know. Like, how do you not have monitors on this unit? Like, what do we do here? But they're amazing, and God knows, that we need them.
there.
As you write this book and you tell these stories, and again, we could talk literally all day of all the stories, and I could just pick your brain on all the things. It really inspires me to have a little bit more grit in my life. You and my husband, you remind me so much of him because he's really cut from the same mold. What do you hope that your kids learn from watching you, um, rebuild, rise, do great things, overcome? I know you mentioned your kids earlier, how you didn't want them to have the spirit of kind of giving up, although I think anybody would have justified it being okay to give up in that moment. What do you think they are taking away from you? And are they doing mushing? Do they do this?
No, no.
No. Interesting.
Yeah, they're big into kids sports, right? Like they're super into like baseball and
Sure.
hockey and basketball and just the regular sports life. And
Mhm.
it's cold, dark, and lonely. And I don't think that's a good
Mhm.
place for kids to be.
Mhm.
Um, it was okay when I was running sprint mushing as a kid. It's very different. We have long distance dogs, and they don't need to be out on the back of a sled at 20 and 30 below for hours at a time. They need to be with friends, learning how to be a teammate and learning how to be leaders and all
But
of
you
those.
did. But you
But
did.
but I didn't because I was running sprint dogs. It's very
I
different.
see. I see. Okay.
So,
So you weren't doing the same thing at that age. That
right.
kind of came later.
Right. Yeah. The long distance mushing came later. Correct. So, uh, I really just want my kids to be able to understand their path and really seek what that path is and then go for it and understand that there is going to be obstacles and that they have to push through them to keep getting to that. And then
Mm.
it's change. You're going to reach this goal and then it's going to be something else that you're going to be reaching for, whether that be your family, your career, your school, your activity, your sport. Each one of these kind of come with challenge, but you can overcome it. You're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to do it. Tenacity is a thing.
Yeah. And your kids are both teenagers now? Are they
They're almost 14 and 11.
14 and 11? Wow. And you and your husband, who again I've known since he was very little, have been together 26 years, married for 20. Was there ever a time, you touched on this about, you almost lost the marriage, and I'm not sure if it even had anything to do with this, but I am curious. I mean, you are doing this sport that is dangerous, could take you away from him, could take you away from the kids. Was there ever a time he sat you down and was like, you know what, Bridgett, that's enough. Like we can't risk losing you. And I mean, Honestly, after the moose attack, I'm sure there's 25 other stories. You could probably tell me that he probably did this before, but after that moose thing, I don't know. I don't know, Bridget. I would have been like, okay, babe, I think that's enough. Were
You
there
know,
ever those?
very hard for him, but he did the best thing that he could have and should have done, and he allowed me to make the decisions. Because
Mm,
if he would have made that decision for
right.
me, I would have respected him. If he come to
The
me,
resentment.
I would have respected him, but then I would have never been fulfilled.
Right.
And he trustingly respected my choices and never pushed me one way or another. And there was many times, two in particular, where I came to him and I said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. And he said, I can't make that decision for you. He wanted me to be able to make the decision and be okay with it. And I think that is what made us be able to move forward.
Wow. Yeah, that's a some emotional IQ right there. I mean, to be able to really support you. I mean, again, I think of this in even in kids to where there were so many times I wanted to just kind of take over my daughter's journey.
Yeah.
And again, out of safety, I'm going to protect her, but I really had to let her do her thing. I admire that about him. That's pretty amazing to let you just kind of make your decision because he kind of saw the foresight of like, if I hijack this for her,
Yep.
this is going to come back on me.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have been good for our marriage, right? So it
Right.
would, and it was really hard because it was really dangerous. And I did nearly die a couple times. And ultimately, one time he had to come rescue me, legitimately saved my life. So he's having to walk through that with me and still allowing me to make those choices. He wanted me to quit as much as I wanted to quit, but he
Sure.
never forced that, nor did he speak those words into me, right? Like he just was like, you have to make these decisions. I can't do this for you. He's like, I will pick you up one way or the other. It doesn't matter, but you have to be the one that makes the move.
Wow. That's what a man. It sounds like you guys have really, come through a lot. And what a legacy for your kids, to watch that and watch dad. I mean, you have two boys, right?
Right.
Watch dad, be a support to mom. It just sounds like you're raising, incredible men. And with your dad, do you mind if I mention their names? Because I know that they're kind of Michael Moore and Ali Zirkle, correct?
Alan Moore. Yeah. Alan
Al
Moore.
see Michael Moore on it. Definitely not Michael Moore. Alan,
Yeah.
Alan Moore, and Ali Zirkle. They're known in this world as the Iditarod legends. Did they ever come to you and say, like, this is getting scary, like we know what this life is like? Or was it kind of same as your husband? Just encouragement, got to do your own journey.
They would never give me the opportunity to quit.
So unlike, yeah, even
But
though your husband wanted you to be like, no.
no, they didn't push me. They were like,
Sure.
how much more crazy crap is going to happen? Like they questioned that, like, this is bonkers. And
Even beyond what they had experienced in that world.
absolutely.
Really? So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you hear about even Allie's journey, and I know kind of even that last journey, I think in that last race that she did, but really there was more. They were even amazed at what you had
Oh,
been
yeah.
going through.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow. That's kind of intense.
Yeah. And so nobody really pushed me. I think my mom probably was the only one who was like, are you really sure you want to go back out there? I'm like, Mom, I'm going. So
Wow.
she's just the mom, like doing the mom thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like I gotta do it. Like I just have to do it. Like that's
Yeah.
it. I can't live the rest of my life wondering what if.
Yeah. And it sounds like you look back with no regrets.
Zero.
Yeah. Do you find that the marker to marker mentality, going through one checkpoint at a time kind of just mirrors not only that journey, on in the snow, but kind of your life? Is that why you maybe
Yeah,
chose that?
absolutely. Because you never know what is gonna come, what's gonna be the next step, or what storm you're gonna face next. And when you're on a trail mushing dogs, sometimes the only thing you can see through the blizzard or the blinding snow is a marker that's actually in the snow. And
Wow.
you headlights and the headlights will reflect off of it. And so sometimes you're out in front of your team because you can't even see them walking in front of walking in front of your team,
Mm,
shining light, just hoping to reach a glimpse of where the
wow.
next.
So that's what you're looking for as you're out there and you're going through those tough times. You're just looking for, is it a reflector? Like, is it a reflection type thing to where you're looking for a reflection?
It is. And so
Wow.
trying to get to that next step. And so that's what it was all about is, you never know what that next step is going to be, but you got to take it. Even if it's in the wrong direction, it's going to pull you back. You're going to find the trail and you're going to get back on it, but just take the next step.
Wow. I really relate to that. With the journey I've had with my daughter, um, people ask you how you're doing or how things are going. Is she doing this or that? And I would just say, you know what, she's good today. And that's all I could really say. There wasn't this kind of overwhelming or overall feeling of she's great. I love that marker to marker to where you're just looking for a little bit of a reflection of like, okay, I made it. I made it one more step. Like that's a lot of hope. Um, did your faith in God or faith, I don't want to, speak for you, but did that have a role as well?
My faith is everything. So if I didn't have faith, I would not be able to take the next step because I would just seek and I would pray and I would ask and God would provide. And every single time, and I tell a lot of those stories in the book as well, but every single time God provided in ways from sending different things when I needed them, when there was no way. He would send ravens in the wilderness to lead me down a trail. I mean, there was time after time God showed up and has continued throughout my whole life. And so if I didn't have God, if I didn't have faith and trust, I would get nowhere.
Mm. So I'm guessing you were probably praying a lot when.
Nonstop. And there's a whole part in my book where I talk about I was given a Bible verse that then actually became my anthem. I had somebody pray over me before the start of the race, and I didn't really realize that was going to become an anthem. And I got really scared and I wanted to quit at one point, and the winds were howling and the blizzards were starting back, and that's when I was like, I'm done. Like I don't want to do this anymore. And that's when that verse came in my head, and so what had just been a simple verse then became an anthem as it had a tune. And I literally sang that song to the top of my lungs. The wind would howl and I would sing louder. And it was kind of like my battle cry back to the wind of like, you
Wow.
are not going to beat me. This is what I have to say to you. And so those words were just speaking truth over me as I went marker to marker just to get to the next checkpoint.
What was the verse? Do you mind sharing?
No, Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? I will be with you wherever you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense. And
Yeah.
who knew that that was going to be what really, got you through? Wow, Bridgett, my temptation is to want to keep asking you about all the stories, but I am, since you've released this book, what do you feel in your life, or has it changed you personally, spiritually, professionally? What has changed since you've released this book?
I found a new passion. I've always enjoyed speaking, but now I'm really enjoying speaking and telling my story to encourage other people to really kind of move on to this next level, this next whatever your next thing is, and to really just be an encourager because I think we need more of that in the world to just let people know like, yeah, life's hard. We're all going through some type of struggle or some type of battle.
Yeah.
And a lot of them aren't even spoken of. And so it's just good for people to know that like, yeah, this we're all fighting a battle.
Yeah. What do people reach out to you? I mean, when readers have read your book, what do they tell you that touches them the most? I mean, I was even looking at reviews for your book, and there's many, by the way. I did see a common theme, but I'm curious what you think touches them the most.
Just the power of not giving up.
Mm,
Yeah. They're just kind of at awe. And I think it's just because people don't take time to look at what they've overcome in their own lives. Like we all overcome things and sometimes you don't even know it's the battle you're walking through right now. And so you just have to recognize like, okay, that's what this is and what are we going to do to get through it?
yeah, yeah. Well, what's next for you? I'm scared to even ask. I mean, you've done it all. It sounds like so you've retired from mushing, correct?
I have, yeah, where I'm supposed to be in life right now, and it was very clear is, I'm a mama, and so I don't get to be mama but more years, and I love going to my kids' games and coaching basketball, and I about lost my voice yesterday coaching. It's great. That's where I want to be, and so that's where I am. I'm not on the back of a trail. I did that thing. I did it. but now I'm going to be a mama, and that's where my heart is. Right now, I'm still nursing, and I'm speaking at different places when they come and have me talk and tell some of these stories and just encourage their audience. So that's a lot of fun.
I'm just going to throw this out there, but you need to do a TED Talk.
Yeah, yeah, we've been talking about that. You just got to have the right thing to talk about.
Well, I mean, I
There's
think you have plenty. I think you have such an incredible story because when I was even reading through some of the reviews of your book, one of the common themes was just, I literally, one person said there would be moments I'm laughing and then the next moment I'm crying. That literally several people wrote that on the reviews for the book because there were so many different stories that you brought a lot of joy, but then just crying, for your survival or just what you had been through. So I think you have plenty to talk about. So with storytelling, it sounds like you do have something very exciting happening soon, which I cannot wait for this because it's one thing to read about it, it's another to get a visual. So I know it's not 100% public yet, but we're going to talk about it briefly. Tell me about this documentary.
Yeah, so
Do you
we
have a name? Do you have a
we
name for it
do.
already?
We do. It's called Without Warning.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
most things in life come without warning. You
Yes.
know what's going to happen. And so I was approached by some producers, and they said, "You have a great story. Let's tell it." And I said, "Oh boy, talk about
Okay.
trouble. We're going
That's what
from
I'm gonna say. You thought the book was gonna put you
right.
out there. Now we got faces to names. And how does that feel? How does your family feel? What's this like?
We don't really know how to feel yet.
Right.
We're we're hopeful. Like we feel like it's going to lead to our ability to spread hope and joy, and
Yes.
that there is hope in this life, because it's going to be hard, and it's going to be a documentary that shows you some really heavy things, and it also shows you some great victories.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely an inspiration, not just for women, but just, women who are moms and wives, and you have a career. It's, I mean, let's just not forget that you do have a career as well that you were, doing all of this on. If you could go back, my last question for you, which I love the background behind you because I love how you talked about your faith, just, got you through. If you could go back to and speak to the version of yourself before all of this, happened to you, before the loss, before the lessons, before the healing, what would you tell her?
Priorities.
Hmm.
Got to have your priorities straight in every decision that you make. When you are going to walk in a path, you need to ask yourself, my faith first, my family next, and that will bring about some grit that you're going to have and the freedom that'll come from it. So, keeping those priorities straight in every decision will lead you a lot down a much straighter path.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah, I think we do. It is true. When people really go off track, I think in their life, it's because they don't have their priorities,
Yeah.
their priorities straight. And again, I love what you said earlier, that when you lose your why, because if we start doing it for other things for other people, or we start worrying about all these things, we kind of get lost in the whirlwind. Well, if somebody wants to get your book, how do we get your book? I'll put all this on my description, but how do we get your book and when can we look forward to this documentary coming out?
You can get the book on Amazon's easiest place to get it, so you can get it there. We're working on an audiobook, so I should have that out pretty soon. Not pretty soon. It'll be out by the end of the year, hopefully. But before then, we're actually the documentary Without Warning will be on all the streaming platforms. You can follow me on social media to find that, but that'll be out December 9th. So it'll be out,
Wow.
8 weeks or so. It's coming.
How exciting. Well, us Manila, Arkansas folk are, even though I'm in LA, we're so proud of you. And just to know that you came from our little town and doing just some incredible things. I mean, what a inspiration and a legacy, even for us back home, to watch you do this, and little girls that are going to watch this and go, oh my gosh, like, look what she's able to do. You're just so inspiring, and I wish you all the best with the documentary. I can't wait. We need a trip to LA. We need some kind of premiere. We need to do a premiere party out here. I will host it. We need
Oh,
we need to get it out there.
be great. Yeah.
Yes.
Alaskan coming to LA, boy.
I would, yeah, not to say I wouldn't come to Alaska one
What?
day.
fancy enough for LA, but we can see.
You don't need to be fancy for us. We enjoy just kind of hanging here. So, well, thank you so much for taking this time. Hopefully, we can do a follow-up in person at some point, but I really appreciate just your vulnerability here today, but really the story that you've been telling. And I'm just so grateful for this. And you got to hang on just a minute after we're done because my mama wants to say hello because I love this that we have that connection. But thank you, Bridgett Watkins. You are an inspiration. And we will see all of you back for the next episode of Call the Nurse.